Oof, man. Let's talk about a funeral. Yeah, let's talk about a funeral. Why not? That's why I had a week break through all this stuff. My dad's mom, my grandmother, had passed away, and we had to, take care of some family things. But with that, I kind of learned that let's just say people in my family handle emotions very differently. Roll the intro.
I got problems on problems on problems on problems on problems on problems I solve them. I run through the money, the pressure be calling. Left on my blessings, I feel like I'm falling. The birdie is back, tell me I'm garbage. I'm going through something, that's why I ain't calling. Phone in progression, it's all that I wanted. The phone in affection, I summon and dub it. Cause I got problems on problems on problems on problems on problems on problems I solve them. I run through the...
Welcome back to another episode of the Problems on Problems podcast. I am your host, Mike Santee, and like we already talked about, I was at a funeral, and I think this might be the first time in a while that's not the first time in my adult life where I believe myself to be emotionally mature enough now to understand and process like with the full gravity of loss. This also being the first grandparent that I've lost, so it was a little different. But for those of you that don't know, my maternal grandmother passed away, and it was kind of weird seeing non-family there and talking to non-family about it, whether that be coworkers or friends or anything like that, because I realized that a lot of the time I was calling her dad's mom. And full disclosure, before we even get into anything else about this, is that I didn't have the closest relationship with my maternal grandmother. I don't really have the closest relationship, or paternal. Jeez, oh my God, my paternal grandmother. Wow, way to mess those words up. But yeah, for those of you that don't know, my paternal grandmother passed away, and I didn't have the closest relationship with her. So big disclosure out there, I really don't even have a close relationship with my maternal grandmother. We're not even going to talk about that. Basically, everything that I'm about to say is really coming from a perspective of somebody that wasn't that wasn't that close to the person that passed away, but was close to the people hurting from her passing. And I would say it was interesting to see how different, but also similar our families, my family, extended family and all, really process kind of that loss. But really it starts with I feel like, spoiler alert, I have a typically large Hispanic family, a stereotypically large Hispanic family. And when you combine that with the fact that most of them live on Long Island or are somewhere within the tri-state area, it really reminds you of how close things are and how close-knit things are, and like people just showing up out of nowhere to pay their respects. It felt as though, at least for the wake, and for those of you that don't understand, I don't know why, Catholic people have wakes, Christians have memorials. It's the same thing, honestly. You go there, pay your respects to the dead before the funeral actual part of it. But I realized that my family really processes emotions in two ways, and it's more or less just tears or jokes. And I don't know if that's just particular to my family or to Hispanics in general, but from, I don't know, your boy being once married to a white woman, it just seemed a little bit different, where the mourning was not as celebration filled, whereas at this funeral, and it could be just different times or different people, different upbringings, it just seemed as though it was way more it sucked to say goodbye to this woman that they've known their entire lives, but it also was this kind of point of, let's celebrate her life. And I don't know if this is a generational thing, but I really think that more celebrations of life should be a thing. Side tangent and all that I've just gone on. It just feels as though that we should be kind of celebrating the life that they had instead of mourning the loss. We're going to be sad, but I'm sure, and I think my uncle, one of my grandmother's sons, said it best, where he was this is what she would have wanted. And it was music, it was food, it was all that good stuff. I feel like a cousin said it best at the wake, where she said that she mentioned somebody was a comedian, and then she said, well, there's a few of them in the family. And I really think that that's just the case of how we handle our trauma. I know, at least from watching my family and extended family through the years, that they're not shy about handling their handling their differences, and handling their trauma, whether it be through crying, through anger, or through laughter. But it really, you saw two things happen during the time that I spent with family, where you saw some people that would get choked up and then just leave before it got a little too much for them or before it got too overwhelming. You saw people literally crying to the point where like they could not hold themselves up or together, like falling kind of thing, over that much kind of grief. And then you saw people that kind of like took their sadness in stride and then would like crack a few jokes to really distract from the sadness or to like bring light to the situation. And it was really interesting to see because of the fact that, a little background on my grandmother on my dad's side, my dad's mom, as I have called her for at least half of my life. When her sisters were about 6 or 7-ish years old, their mother passed away, and she raised them basically as her own kids because she was late teens at the time. So she raised my aunts from the time they were about I think 6 to 7 years old, and a time later after that, my dad was born, and so were the rest of my uncles, which I believe from that grandma, 4. 1, 2, 3, yeah, 4. 4 of those. So basically 6 kids this woman was raising through her entire time. And you saw the full spectrum of emotions when it came to these kids experiencing the loss of their mother. And it was interesting because you had some people that, for whatever reasons it may be, were more reserved in their feelings, where you could tell that it was getting to them, and then they would just kind of suck it up, kind of either push it down or wait for a different time to feel those feelings and kind of move on. You would see people like my godmother, who I believe her and my dad had like the hardest time because they were probably the closest to my grandmother. And then you saw some other people get a little teary-eyed, cry a little bit, wipe it off, and kind of just keep it going, almost like clockwork. And the part that really stood out to me is that 1,000%, we all cope with things. We all cope with things differently. And honestly, the hardest part was kind of watching how the passing of my dad's mom affected those that were closest to her. And I think that was for the first time where the idea of loss became real to me. I don't know. I've just been lucky, honestly, for my entire life, where not any close family members have passed away, or family members that I'm close to have passed away. I've had distant cousins and great uncles and stuff like that. I've had people like that in my family pass away. I've had some friends that I became estranged to over the years pass away too soon. And this is the first time to me where the first time where it registered with me on an emotional level that the people that I cared about were in deep pain over the passing of my dad's mom. And so it was, I guess it was for those of you that have never experienced it, or those of you who experienced it when you were younger, it was just a different moment watching people kind of truly say goodbye for the last time to the physical embodiment of a person that they love dearly. And that's the part that that sat with me the entire time. And that was really the difficult side. But then in true family form, we kind of just did what we always do, where we ate massive amounts of food. The amount of food that was made for after the funeral, that my parents then hosted family and friends at their house, and they had all this food kind of pitched up in the backyard under all these tents and all that stuff. But just to see that enormous amount of tables and chairs and food and dishes, gosh, I think I had, off the top of my head, I had, we call them heroes up north. Well, really in New York, they're subs. We get it. But there was an Italian sub that was 6 feet long. There was a 6-foot roast beef sub that I have pieces of. There was baked ziti. There was lasagna. There was chicken parmesan. There was arroz con gandules. There was pernil. There was potato salad. There was roasted potatoes. There was turkey. There were, what else? There was sancocho. There were empanadas. There was white rice. There was beans, there was dinner rolls, there was salad, there was quiche, there was flan, there was cheesecake, and I can't remember the rest, but trust me, there's a reason why I'm wearing the thick boy hoodie today, and it's because like I had all of that and I'm feeling all of that. But it's kind of just our thing where at the end of the day, good experience, bad experience, it's almost like it's one of those things where it's like we do what we do. We play music, we eat a lot of food, and then we tell a bunch of funny stories about the past. And it was kind of surreal, in the sense that if I can find it or if I can get a hold of it, I'll post it to here. But fast forwarding like 15 years down the road, actually I feel like it was 20 years down the road, where my mom had a picture in the same backyard of my cousins and I kind of at this table hanging out eating, and to see all of us as adults kind of doing the same thing under different circumstances, it was just kind of surreal. It was kind of cool. But like, I mean, honestly, to my late grandmother, like I know that for sure she loved her kids more than anything else. Say what you will about like how she was with other people or like at my relationship with her, I know for 1,000% that she absolutely adored her children to no end kind of thing, and her love for them was very apparent all the time. And to friends, family, neighbors, everybody that came out to support or pay their respects to my family, to help out the family during this time and this season, and kind of really just come together. I appreciate it. I thank you guys. Just remember, remember to keep loving your people. Keep telling them that you love them. Don't take their time for granted, because like the cliche says, you really never know when your last moment with them is going to be your last moment with them. So just make sure they know you love them. And if you don't know how to figure out how to say that, or if you don't know how to say that, I don't know, figure it out, because the last thing you want to do is feel as though like I could have done one more thing or said one more thing for him. With that, I guess we take like a hard kind of segue over, but we'll take a break, we'll come back, and then we'll do what we always do. We'll be ignorant, we'll be debaucherous. Is debaucherous a word? Please tell me it's a word. For the love of God, please tell me debaucherous is a word. We'll be ignorant, we'll be debaucherous, and we'll talk about what happens when some of you people are in the shower.
P.O.P.
And we're back with the great debate. Last episode, we asked you, in the shower, or really, how do you shower? Do you face the water or do you turn away from the water? And honestly, guys, we've been doing this, for like 47 episodes, give or take. It's been basically a year. The year anniversary episode will come up soon. But do you not understand that like the answer is usually going to be both? Unless it's something crazy. Like, do you pour your cereal first or your milk first? Because if we're not going to get into that again. But of course, you could probably, if you stay in one position in the shower the entire time, I have concerns. But when it comes to the showering, do you face the water or do you turn away from the water? 53% of you guys said that you face the water, which makes me, it concerns me really, in the sense that like, are y'all okay? Because I know that when I take a shower and I'm facing the water and like it's a prolonged period of time, I'm not in a good place. Like, we're talking like legitimate detective shower where you let the water and the weight of the world kind of just wash over you, and you contemplate all of your previous transgressions, and you really trying to figure out if you're like a whole piece of shit or not. Just me? Okay, just me. It's fine, really. And so 53% of you guys like to face the water, but then again, it could also be that you guys are tall, and unlike myself, I'm not trying to get water in my face. I'm also not trying to have water bounce off my chest into my face. I really don't know how that's possible, but I've now made up this fake scenario in my head. But yes, 53% of you said that you want to face the water while you shower, which we'll talk about that later. Maybe I'll bring a therapist on one of these shows and we can kind of address your problems. This week, the game of catch We're just going to start there. The game of catch. You know it. I know it. You throw a ball, you catch a ball. It's an American pastime. It's just a thing people do. Now, what do you say when you want to participate in the game of catch? Do you say, let's go have a catch? Or do you say, let's go play catch, or let's play catch? So really this week is have a catch or play catch. And now I just really want to know how you guys say things, because let's start arguments. Let's talk about it. Let me know in the comments. Let me know in the polls, and we'll talk about it more in next week's episode, which brings us over to the Friday follows. The first Friday follow. And really, because the theme of this episode, outside of experiencing loss and everything like that, is food, because when is it not food? The first Friday follow is Arepas Charlotte. You can find them at Arepas_Charlotte on Instagram. Listen, it's 100% corn, 100% Colombian made, 100% homemade. These things are ballin'. These things are gas. Doing bits. I don't know how else to explain it to you, but make sure that you go follow them at Arepas_. Wow, that was a hard rolled R. Arepas_Charlotte on Instagram. And the next follow that we're going to give you guys is Bodega Food Wagon. Now, if you haven't listened to part of this episode at all, just understand that your boy is from Long Island. I got some New York in me. And if there's one thing that I've said that Charlotte needs, is more bodegas. Honestly, any bodegas, because it's just, oh my God, it's so nice to just walk in there, get a hot meal. And it's not a hot bar meal. Trust me, I will fight you on that one. But yeah, a hot meal that's just like empanadas or arroz con gandules or like sancocho, whatever you want, the things that make you taste New York. Yeah, we're going to keep that in. But yeah, make sure you guys go follow them at Bodega Food Wagon on Instagram. But with that, guys, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe down to the Problems on Problems channel. The Problems on Problems channel. Make sure you guys go follow at Problems on Problems podcast on Instagram, at Problems_pod on Twitter. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Music, and everywhere else where podcasts are found. And per usual, make sure you guys go follow your boy at Mike Santi 18 on all social media. But like I always say, guys, if it's not a good time, hope it's a good story, and I will see you next week.